Hello everyone and welcome to our channel, and today I'll be reading Multi-Character Listener by me. So let's get into it. Scaramouche. Scaramouche is more of a very strict person when it comes to PDA. Doing things in public was not really his thing, especially since this was all new to him. So he was more worried about getting used to it in general than showing off. But sometimes, even he couldn't resist how alluring and beautiful you were, and just how needy sometimes you would become. It was difficult, especially when you would visit him at work, and he found it pretty tempting to do things that usually he'd be very much against. So when he saw you walking around him, he knew what he had to do. He was working with the academia for now, so as it was in the private library, he thought you could get away with it, as it only consists of scholars anyway. So maybe, if he takes your hand and hides behind one of the bookshelves, no one will ever know. And that's how it all starts. He wraps his arms around your waist, pulling you close to him, and kissing you softly, the two of you closing your eyes and melting into the kiss. With how needy the two of you were, it was almost impossible to imagine how this was the first time something like this happened. But it truly was. And even though he was nervous, his temptation rivaled any other feeling. And that's why, as he kissed you, deepening the kiss, with his hands in your hair, he knew it was worth it. Or so he thought, before he heard the scholar clear their throat, looking at him. "I don't think you should be doing that here." And he goes right red, turning around to glare at them. "Then you should go away. No one wants you here." And of course, he was too intimidating for anyone to argue with him. Thankfully, he was able to be embarrassed without anyone watching. Meanwhile, you were giggling at him, wrapping your arms around him tightly, and burying your face into his shoulder. "Well, next time we gotta be more careful." "I don't know if there will be a next time." You find yourself laughing at that, hugging him tightly. He was truly adorable, and everything you had wanted in a partner. Venti, technically as it was an Archon, Mondstadt in its entirety could be considered his place of work. But then again, it was not simply that easy as he preferred to stay incognito. So, the thing is, when he was working as a bard and supposed to sing in the tavern, he had brought you with him. He wanted you to watch him and all. But when he went to the top floor, and it was empty, and you were wearing that beautiful dress, he seemed to get a little bit sidetracked. "Come on, Leon. Nobody's gonna look for us. There's still some time," he said. And looking at him, you blushed, but found yourself having a hard time resisting. So you gave in, nodding, and sat down on one of the couches, Venti wrapping his arms around you, pulling you closer for a kiss, and deepening it, his hands roaming around your body, as if he was just starving for one touch of you. Meanwhile, your arms wrapped around him, as you pressed yourself closer to him, the two of you forgetting about space completely, and also about Venti's performance. And soon enough, as the two of you lost yourself in the moment, and the makeout session continued to extend, it seems like Venti was getting completely late, and that's precisely why one of the people had went up to you, all the way. "Hey, Venti, you're getting late. The performance is about to start," he said, looking for him. And that's when the two of you jumped, and the guy noticed exactly what you were doing. He blushed brightly, clearing his throat. I'll see you downstairs." That's all he said before leaving, and the two of you stared at where he once was, both you and Venti blushing bright red. before he bursted into laughter. At least he handled it pretty well, and Venti wasn't that embarrassed. They were glad about that. Xiao? Xiao was easily embarrassed. And even more, he didn't find physical affection that easy. In private, let alone in public. So this was a very complicated situation. It wasn't like he was exactly working, but being a yaksha meant that people expected him to work all the time, expecting him to protect them. And in truth, he was protecting them. He had killed all the demons he found, all the monsters. So there was no reason to stall what he had to do. And what he had to do in question here was you. Yes, he wanted nothing more than to be with you at the moment. And yet found you on the street, going shopping, and stopped you in your tracks, pulling you into a dark alleyway, and kissing you softly. He was never like that. Never too needy. Never too touchy. And if you were to be completely honest, he didn't know what was getting him to be that way. He just wanted to be with you, right here, right now. And he didn't want anything extreme either. But all he knew is that you were pulled into an alleyway, and he had cupped your face in his hands, kissing you, and deepening the kiss. He had no objections, none at all, as you sighed softly into it, closing your eyes, wrapping your arms around him, and pulling him in even closer. And it was all fun, the two of you, lost in the little noises that you made, the way your bodies stuck to each other, the way he was so close to you, and the way that his lips were perfect against yours. Until a lady was running away and shook Xiao off of you. Hey, aren't you the yaksha? Can't you please help me? The two of you blushed brightly, and she definitely seemed to notice what was going on between the two of you. However, she said nothing, and Xiao nodded immediately, asking her what's wrong and dealing with it. Meanwhile, she was giving you a look, feeling like you were wasting Xiao's time. Oh, old people, and where they could be so entitled. It was fine though, because later, he teleported away with you, and even though he was blushing bright red when he talked to her, he made it up to you when he went home, holding you close and telling you it would be fine, which was something you were relieved for, as usually you were the one to comfort him, and right now, you needed a break from the way she was looking at you, and Xiao, of course, always seemed to provide.